Hi, I'm Miss Figueroa. I'm their teacher. Whatever information you can give them would be great. So, you want to take it away?
Okay. So we're doing Project Citizen, and what our question is like, how do we like help solve like pollution in the ocean and stuff like that? So would you like to like introduce yourself and like your background knowledge?
Yeah, absolutely. So do you guys want to like ask questions? You guys want me to like present on some of my research, or like what's helpful for you?
Research is great for us.
Yeah. So I have like I could show you some slides. I don't know if this is a big screen. You guys can see it, or
Yes, we can see. Yeah.
when I talk about coral reefs, I like to start with like this question of like why do we care about coral reefs? And I guess I want to hit you guys with that. Why do you care about coral reefs?
I feel like it's a big problem now because so much pollution in our oceans, and I feel like it really is affecting like not only like our oceans, but the food we get from it and the animals that are trying to live there.
Yeah. So, but when you think of coral reef, like why do we even care about them? What do you think is valuable about it? Coral reefs are the highest concentration of biodiversity in all of our oceans. So they're the rainforests of the sea. If you care about animals, if you care about biodiversity, if you care about finding compounds and chemicals that are good for science and medicine, you care about coral reefs. Additionally, they support hundreds and hundreds of millions of people for food. All the fish that aggregates around their structures are really, really important for fisheries and for just putting food on the table for hundreds of millions of people around the world. And if that's not enough, they create these living walls, right? Like all that reef framework that protects our shorelines from wave energy and storm action. So in Florida alone, here in South Florida, it's been estimated that it protects our coastline to the tune of $600 million every year, every single year. I think it's like $650 million, give or take $50 million. Who cares? In addition, if that's not enough for you, they're important for tourism. People come to Florida all the time because they want to dive and snorkel. They're amazing to go experience. So again, I've read estimates that in Florida alone, they bring in about $1.1 billion in tourism revenue on a yearly basis, which is pretty cool. And so that's some of the reasons that I care about coral reefs. But as you mentioned, coral reefs are dying, which is really bad for obviously if we really care about all those species, but also bad for all those services, all that money, and all the protection of those reefs. From our backyard in the Florida Keys. So if you look into the 70s and into the 1980s, down in the 2000s, you can just really see how all of those corals are changing. Like in the 70s, all of those are hard corals providing all that structure, all those services, and then everything is dying and eroding and just being ripped away. So it's kind of as you mentioned, a bit of a sad story so far. And one of the things that's happening is we're burning a lot of fossil fuels. And what that does is it creates a lot of that carbon dioxide that burns goes into our oceans, and it creates a more acidic ocean. It's a process called ocean acidification. This is a thing I study a lot. You can kind of think about it like, you know how like a soda that you drink is carbonated, has all those bubbles in it? It's also more acidic, and that's what's really bad for corals. And so ocean acidification is ongoing. This is just some data that we've created these essentially really robotic aquarium systems that allow us to program in temperature and acidification and all these different conditions that all our corals will be experiencing and are experiencing now, so we can understand how they'll affect them, how they'll change growth. We take thousands and thousands and thousands of photos, and then we use computer algorithms to stitch them all together, create all these computer graphics and digital models. We can create these 3D models for how reefs are responding. And you can see these are huge images, allows us to zoom in and whatnot. Let's see what else. You can also do this in 3D. Another thing that I do is that I take coral cores. This means scuba diving underwater to look at coral growth. So I'm taking a drill rig and taking a little bit of scalpel.
To what's going on. We can't fix the world. It's gonna be impossible. But like maybe locally to do something that could stop killing off these corals.
Yeah, like what do you think is like a good like solution or policies that we could like implement locally that will help with the issue of pollution like this?
Yeah, so I get, it's important to think about what specific problem you're looking at because coral reefs are dealing with so many different problems. So I did, I want to mention warming to you guys because warming is something that is really, really bad for coral reefs. Do you know about bleaching? Yeah, so corals live right at the edge of their temperature tolerance. And so if it's too hot for too long, they bleach white. And this is a really big problem because our Earth is getting a lot warmer. As you can see, this is temperature, getting warmer over years, and you can see that, temperature is rising, and this really is a problem for corals. And so if it's, again, too hot for too long, they bleach white, and if they bleach white for too long, just like this, they can die. And so I'm mentioning this because this is on TV a little while ago, but this is another big problem that our reefs are dealing with. And so, I'm talking about acidification, we've talked about temperature or nutrients, and so the question that you guys have rightly asked, but which is relevant to what stress we're doing is, what can we do about it? And so there are solutions right now. One of the things that we're doing in Florida is we're outplanting, we're restoring reefs. This is Mission Iconic Reefs, a project that I'm part of, where we're growing corals and outplanting them out on reefs. And that's a really important, restoration is a really important thing that we can do. So we can grow these corals out in the wild, in these nurseries, in these farms, or in our labs. We can also get those corals to reproduce.
We spoke to Vanessa McDonough in Biscayne National Park, and she was saying that on average, tens of thousands of pounds of garbage that they're picking up each year.
Yeah, so trash is certainly a huge problem for coral reefs locally. And that is, something that people, obviously, it's never a good idea to throw your trash anywhere but in the garbage, or to, it's really important to recycle. So that's absolutely quite important. In terms of what's actually killing our coral reefs, it is more of a problem. Disease and temperatures are more of a problem for what is killing our coral reefs in Florida.
So with like the temperature, is there really something that like we can do like as a class like locally, or do you think we should like stick to trying to fix the trash issue locally?
I think temperature is a huge issue. I honestly don't, in terms of, if you're going to make a list of all the things that are affecting reefs, temperature and disease are number one and two. Trash is certainly important, and you're right, it's something that we can do, to like beach cleanup is really important. I think one of the things that you guys are talking about is, in terms of all marine ecosystems. My research, as I mentioned to you, Dominic, is mostly focused on coral reefs for the reasons that I mentioned earlier. But what picking up trash and saving trash is helpful for tons of different ecosystems.
One of our policies or one of our ideas is either like going to the beach and maybe like monthly or weekly beach cleanup, or like putting more trash cans near. And we think it'll, one, create more jobs for some people, and two, it'll help with the beach cleanup, where more people can put their trash in. Maybe it can be monitored by some people, and then the people that take out the trash when it gets full and put it in the dumpster.
Yeah, so that totally makes sense to me. I think what I would suggest is talking to the park rangers that are people that are taking care of those beaches themselves. I think they could probably help you figure out where to put those trash cans and what specific beaches really are a problem. The biggest disease that we're dealing with right now in Florida and throughout the entire Caribbean actually started here in Miami, in the port of Miami, and now it is spread throughout the entire Caribbean. It's called stony coral tissue loss disease. And it's a disease that, corals are really, really slow growing. So you have a colony maybe that's about the size of a basketball that might be 50, 60 years old. And so once so many coral tissue loss disease affects one of those colonies, it's dead in like a matter of months. And so you can think about it, how quickly a 50-year-old coral is this big, just dying like that, and then that disease spreading throughout the Caribbean, it's a huge problem.
But what causes that disease?
So here's the thing, that's a great question and something we've been trying to figure out. We don't know. It's really, really hard to determine what specifically is causing the disease. It seems like it should be a really easy question, right? But coral health is so complicated. There's so many different, it's kind of gross, but corals are just kind of covered in snot. There's like all this mucus that lives on the surface. It's super gross. But there's all these microorganisms that live in there, all this bacteria, all these viruses. So figuring out what specifically is causing this disease is really difficult. Absolutely, it could be linked. We have some. I think it's a different issue. There's some evidence that we run some experiments on this in my lab. This particular disease we found to be not very closely linked to temperatures, but there are other coral diseases obviously that are. And that is a huge. I mean, it's the scale of that is just absolutely crazy to think about. We've literally created an island of trash, right? Like it's massive. And for a lot of organisms, a lot of fish that eat little bits of plastic, a lot of other things that live on that stuff, it can be a huge problem. Yeah, so for me, I mean, it's, fish and food. Again, like, it's not just when we go to a restaurant or if we're going to a grocery store. You go to all over the world. I've been really fortunate to go see these communities and people that literally, if they did not have coral reefs or their coral reefs or places to get food, they would not be able to feed their families. They would starve, they would die. And so these are towns, cities, people, tribes that are all fully dependent on coral reefs. And if you go down into the Florida Keys, like look at how many dive shops there are. Look at how many fishing shops there are. All of those people depend on coral reefs too. If they didn't have coral reefs, they wouldn't have their businesses there. So, it's really important for us, for food, for money. That's why I have a job within the federal government, within the Department of Commerce, because we care about people's jobs. We care that we need to protect these resources that provide us with all these services.
It's like a class where we all work together to come up with an idea and look locally or whatever it is. See like an issue and see if we can attempt to promote a policy that will work and help our community.
A public policy.
Yeah, public policy.
That makes sense. I think that's wonderful. I think that you guys, being focused on making the world a better place is critical, and we need more people like you. I think that working together is so important to make our world better. It's important for us just as good people. So I applaud you guys for working on that.
That's good. So you kind of helped us kind of get to this question. So they have a list of questions they're going to ask you. This one is asking about the disagreements in the community or in government as to how we should tackle this problem, whether it be the trash or the bleaching or whatever it is. How, like the disagreements going on, maybe within your department or local government or state, are they fighting over where they should tackle first?
Well, there's a lot of different people that believe different aspects of the science, and so it can be quite challenging because it also costs a lot of money to have solutions. So there are a lot of different things to weigh in on. I guess that's probably the amount to which I can probably speak at the moment.
Okay, so the science behind it and the money are the two biggest things.
Everyone is ultimately cares about needs to weigh in all the different sides of what is going on.
Okay. If you were to go about making a change like this, what would you do?
Like if you were to try to get the government's attention or like flag this down, how would you get them to know this and help us adapt our policy.
So I love that you guys are thinking about this. I love that you're talking to your Congress people, you're talking to your lawmakers. I think all of those things are really important. We influence personally overall policy. I try to do the science that policymakers can use to make informed and correct decisions. People like you guys that can actually help make those decisions. So I don't try to influence them personally. But certainly you guys can speak to those people that are making those decisions. I think that's really important.
Perfect, thank you.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Have a good day, bye.